On my 29th birthday, I was alone in the empty house. Julian, who said he would rush back to be with me, sent me a message 2 minutes ago. Something came up last minute, can't make it back. We'll celebrate your birthday tomorrow. It had just happened. His secretary, Celeste, immediately posted a story on social media just for me to see. A hotel hundreds of floors high, overlooking the entire city. In the bathtub by the floor-to-ceiling window, 2 hands covered in thick foam intertwined. The suggestive atmosphere was unmistakable. The marks from a wedding ring that had been removed hadn't fully faded yet. I recognized Julian's hand at a glance. The ridiculous thing was, I felt nothing about it anymore. After all, this wasn't the first time he had cheated. The post on Moments disappeared quickly. Celeste added another message, sent the wrong thing, about to get a harsh scolding from the boss. Poor me. I turned off my phone. My heart was numb, but my body felt cold, urging me to find a source of warmth. I drove home. Standing at the door, I made a knocking gesture, but it felt as if invisible ropes bound my hands, rendering me unable to move. So I just stood there for several minutes. A voice came from inside the room, neither too loud nor too soft. It was my brother Gavin. Mom, Dad, is today my sister's birthday? My mom thought for a moment. Tomorrow is your birthday, so today must be hers. Do you want to give her a call? She scolded him, why call? Tomorrow is your birthday, so you can celebrate with her then. That's how we do it every year, she's used to it by now. My dad chimed in, Julian is probably with him right now. My mom suddenly raised her voice. What do you mean accompany? Julian is still on a business trip. I think it's just an excuse, she doesn't want to go home and see her. She's always sulking like she's owed 8 million or something. Who else can she blame if she can't keep a man's heart? Besides, Julian is a big boss now. Which big boss doesn't keep a mistress? It's nothing unusual. He didn't abandon her after he made it and promised she'd always be the lady of the house, that's already pretty good. Just turn a blind eye, isn't that enough? If she keeps making a fuss with Julian every day, who can stand it? My dad and brother chimed in a few words, and the topic shifted to something else. The family started chatting and laughing again. Only I felt colder and colder, my teeth chattering. 2 years ago, I caught Julian cheating for the first time. I felt like I'd fallen into an ice cave and said only one thing, divorce. Truly loving someone means not being able to tolerate even a grain of sand in your eyes. Even if he knelt in the pouring rain all night, even if he said he was drugged and set up. I cried the whole night through, yet still refused to forgive him. My mother slapped me hard. She pointed at my nose and scolded, it was you who insisted on marrying him in the first place, and now you want a divorce just like that? Do you want to disgrace our whole family along with you? Seeing my disbelief, she softened her tone and urged me, Julian was also schemed against by a vile woman. Give him one more chance. For a whole month, Julian came every day to apologize and ask for reconciliation. I finally relented and compromised. But I was unwilling to share a bed with him anymore. Because I just couldn't get past that hurdle. Seeing me, emaciated to skin and bones and like a walking corpse in such a short time, Julian was so heartbroken that tears fell. He wrote me a letter of guarantee, reported his schedule to me every day, and took care of me with meticulous attention. But in less than half a year, I caught him cheating with his secretary. He said he was drunk and mistook her for me. I just quietly watched him until he flew into a rage and slammed the door as he left. Julian never asked me for forgiveness again. He calmly told my parents, knowing they would stand up for him no matter what. My mom scolded me, saying it was because I hadn't been kind to him for 6 months that he had nowhere else to vent. My dad said if I get divorced, he won't acknowledge me as his daughter. My brother said his company was funded by Julian and told me not to be stubborn, to think about the family. They made a scene at home, then at my company, and in the end, they had no way to deal with me. My mom even drank pesticide and was rushed to the hospital for a stomach pump. She cried her eyes out, snot and tears streaming. Serena, if you still consider me your mom, don't even mention divorce. Our whole family is counting on this son-in-law. Everyone knows I have a wealthy son-in-law. If you get divorced, people will mock our family. You can't be so selfish. The group of brothers who once respectfully and affectionately called me sister-in-law now mocked me with their advice. Sister-in-law, what man at Julian's level doesn't have a few kept mistresses on the side? You just need to be a rich wife at home, spending money, no one can outdo you. Honestly, he's already been pretty good to you. If you don't think for yourself, at least think about your vampire family, right? Julian didn't need to say anything, because he had already said it all. I compromised once again. This time, my relationship with Julian hit rock bottom. I treated him like air, and after a few times of him making a fool of himself, he started coming home later and later. I don't know how I got through that period. My mind felt like it was stuck in glue, as if separated from the outside world by a glass dome. I couldn't sense anything at all. Julian cheated for the third time. He brought his secretary home. They had just finished on the sofa, and the open collar of Julian's shirt still bore bright red lipstick marks. I asked him, "Why don't you want to get a divorce?" He lit a cigarette, his eyes hazy in the smoke, and sighed helplessly. "Serena, at our age, you shouldn't be so naive. Even if I agreed to divorce, my parents wouldn't approve. I'm doing this for your own good. They say the first thing a blind man does when he regains sight is to throw away his cane. I don't have one, but even if I didn't need it, I'd still keep it safe. So you can continue living as a wealthy wife. There's no love between us, but there is family." I actually laughed. "So you finally admit you don't love me anymore?" Julian looked at me for a long time, his thin lips curling into a playful smile. I have to admit, even the strongest feelings fade with time. Looking at your tears now, I feel nothing, just annoyance. What comes after feeling utterly dead inside? I don't know. After leaving that place called home, I encountered a drunkard trying to take advantage of me. He chuckled as he approached me. "Hey beautiful, where are you going? Let Big Brother take you there." Saying that, he reached out to grab me. My unfocused gaze fixed on him, and deep inside, an uncontrollable urge to destroy welled up. Die, just die, all of you die, what's the point of living? Then none of us should live. In his terrified eyes, I smiled and pulled out a fruit knife. For a while, I was overwhelmed by intense panic about everything around me, always feeling like someone wanted to harm me. Only carrying armor with me could give me a shred of safety. Damn, are you crazy? Where did this lunatic come from? His eyes cleared in an instant, and he took off running. I chased wildly from behind, using the most venomous words I had ever uttered. When my high heels broke, I ran barefoot. I chased until my flesh was torn, until he vanished without a trace. I smashed my phone, breaking everything I could. It wasn't enough, still not enough. I desperately wanted to unleash the destructive urge surging in my chest. Let's perish together, all of you go to hell. Adrenaline controlled my limbs as I wandered aimlessly. I don't know how long passed before I heard the sound of the waves. I sat on the rocks all night, until the sunrise leapt over the horizon. After calming down, I thought for a long time. My husband was no longer my lover, my family no longer my family. I had nothing left. Everything most important in life had collapsed, yet a strange sense of peace arose within me. No expectations, no hopes, no reliance. What corresponds to that? Doing whatever I please. So what if the sky falls? Could it be worse than now? If you can't beat them, join them. If you're seen as an outcast, then blend in. I seemed to hear the sound of my soul shattering, replaced by a lightness in my body. The dazzling sunrays shone upon me. I clearly felt something shatter and then reassemble, all emotions peeling away from me. Everything became indifferent. When I opened the door, Julian was flirting with Celeste on the sofa. The nanny who pushed me inside looked a bit embarrassed. "Sir, madam is back." Julian glanced over casually, then stopped. "What's wrong with your leg?" I said calmly, "My high heels broke, and I got scratched by glass." Celeste scolded, "Miss Serena, I'm not trying to criticize, but you're a grown woman and you still pull disappearing acts like this. You had the boss worried all night and he didn't get any sleep." She cast a coquettish glance at Julian, full of meaning. Julian said nothing, gave her a slightly warning look, but it was tinged with indulgence. Celeste playfully stuck out her tongue. I smiled. "So, the quality of these high heels is just too poor. It's one thing that I fell, but my phone got broken too. You really have to choose good ones. Then please help me buy the latest spring and summer limited editions from those big brands and send them over. Money is no problem, my husband has plenty." Celeste's face immediately darkened a bit. She tugged at Julian's sleeve, only to find him looking at me thoughtfully. It's my birthday, and you're not even willing to help with such a small favor? Julian suddenly smiled, then let her buy it for you. He patted Celeste on the shoulder. You go ahead home first. I'm going to celebrate my wife's birthday. Celeste lost her temper, gave me a powerless glare, and reluctantly left. What do you want for your birthday present? I looked at him. You still stand by that open marriage thing you mentioned last time, right? Julian was taken aback, then saw me pull out my new phone and pointed at him. Say it again to the camera. Just in case you change your mind, I want proof. Julian suddenly smiled instead of getting angry. Don't worry, I can find you if I want to. Satisfied now? What if you regret it? He sneered disdainfully. Regret? If I regret it, then I'm a dog. I was satisfied and leisurely instructed the nanny to tidy up the room on the first floor for me. Julian's gaze landed on my phone. Changed brands? I nodded. I've used it for too many years, got tired of it, so I want to try a different brand. To be honest, we hadn't spoken so calmly in a long time. But I don't know which word was wrong, he sneered and got up to leave. Serena has been acting strange lately. After working for so many years, she just quit. She said, what's the point of a rich wife going to work? She should just focus on enjoying life. You have to know, no matter how busy or tired she was before, she would never resign. She said that was her confidence. Now she buys luxury cars, jewelry, antiques, things she never cared about before. She doesn't even use the black card Julian gave her. Later, he got tired of giving it to her. But now, she accepts everything without hesitation. When she likes something, she just sends him a picture directly, so willful it's almost endearing. She permed her hair, making her already striking looks even more dazzling. Julian began to feel a sense of crisis. He asked the nanny what Serena had been up to lately. The nanny said she went out to work out every day now. Was she exercising to please him? Serena had always been stubborn, he knew that. Had she finally come to her senses now? Julian should have been happy, but an inexplicable heaviness weighed on his heart. It felt like things were gradually slipping out of his control. Serena wasn't supposed to be like this. He lit a cigarette in his office, replaying the recent unsettling moments in his mind. An open marriage, impossible. Even if Serena had given up on him, she would only try every possible way to get a divorce. She wouldn't cross that line. The more Julian thought this way, the more inexplicably restless he felt deep down. Celeste murmured in his arms, she dresses up so extravagantly every day, could it be that she already has another man? Julian's tightly stretched nerve in his mind snapped sharply. He grabbed her hair fiercely and yanked it down. Amid her cries of pain and disbelieving eyes, Julian's face was full of rage. What my wife does is none of your business. Don't you, a mistress, know your place? Celeste's eyes instantly reddened, but she still quickly lowered her gaze and meekly begged for his forgiveness. I'm sorry, I know I was wrong. Julian, however, had lost all interest. He grabbed his clothes and got up to leave. It just so happened that he was heading to S-City on a business trip for a week. Driven by some inexplicable impulse, he went to a temple they had visited when they first got married. Inside, there was a huge banyan tree, its branches draped with countless red strings of fate. Julian spent a long time searching for the one they had tied. It was already severely faded. But he still recognized her handwriting at a glance. Serena and Julian will love each other forever. His eyelids suddenly stung, the sour, aching sensation creeping in belatedly. Julian suddenly couldn't wait to go home, to see Serena. But when he pushed the door open, what he saw was clothes scattered all over the floor. Serena's lazy laughter came from her room. Stop messing around, Lucian, carry me to the bath. He froze in place. When I opened the door, I was wrapped only in a bath towel. Lucian let out an ah, looking back at me with a troubled expression. Sister, didn't you say your husband was on a business trip? How come he's back already? I smiled at him reassuringly and glanced toward the doorway. Why didn't you say a word when you came back? At that moment, Julian seemed to turn into a statue, standing silently in place. The confusion in his eyes was so clear, as if he had never imagined seeing this scene before. After a few seconds, he finally snapped out of it, instantly furious. He raised his fist, ready to strike Lucian. Fortunately, Lucian had already prepared himself the day he was with me, always alert and keeping fit to avoid getting beaten by my husband. He calmly sidestepped, his tone casual. That's enough. If you hurt me, your wife will end up worrying. Really childish. I chuckled. Lucian, you go ahead. My husband probably needs to talk to me. See you next time. He picked up the clothes from the floor and, in front of Julian, tilted my chin up for a deep kiss. Sis, don't make me wait too long. I smiled and nodded, watching him leave. Just as I stood up, a sharp pain shot through my wrist as someone forcefully dragged me into the bathroom. Julian's eyes were bloodshot with fury. He ruthlessly tore off my towel and pulled me into the bathtub to wash me. I cried out in pain and slapped him hard without mercy. What the hell is wrong with you? He was slapped so hard that his head turned aside, and his reason seemed to gradually return. Julian's jaw tightened as he stared at me. Serena, how dare you betray me? I frowned. Julian, what are you pretending to forget? On the day we agreed to an open marriage, you swore you wouldn't regret it. So what are you doing now? Julian's face paled as the water droplets slid down. His thin lips moved slightly. That's because you thought I would never cross that line, that I would just grit my teeth and swallow my pride, right? I stretched out my arms, resting them on the edge of the bathtub, boldly displaying the ambiguous marks on my body. But Julian suddenly turned his head away as if his eyes were stung. His fists clenched so tightly they turned white, trembling faintly. I chuckled lightly, you really are something else. After parting on bad terms, Julian retaliated by bringing Celeste straight home. The nanny went from shock to feigning deafness and silence. I was unfazed, even managing to compliment Celeste's new sexy nightwear. Julian grew even angrier seeing how indifferent I was. He yanked Celeste back into the room, determined to make a scene just to prove he existed. I slept upstairs, and they were flirting right next door. I slept downstairs, and they were flirting in the living room. Late at night, I was once again woken by their loud voices and had reached my limit. I kicked their door hard and shouted angrily, "Can you guys have some decency? Are you trying to keep people from sleeping?" The door quickly opened. Julian appeared, his upper body covered in scratch marks, a smirk playing at the corner of his lips. I thought you didn't care? So what's this about now? I suppressed the anger burning in my chest. What you do, where you do it, and in what position, I don't care. But I hope you can be a little quieter when others need to rest. Is that too much to ask? Julian looked down at me for a long time, as if trying to find the slightest hint of jealousy on my face. After a moment of confrontation, he shrugged indifferently. Sorry, can't do that. Celeste came out wearing her nightgown, leaning softly against Julian. Sorry, I've warned him, but he never listens. Well, after all, it's his house, Miss Serena. You'll have to put up with it. I thought about it and nodded. Turning around, I went back to my room. Half an hour later, I was pushing my suitcase out the door. Julian saw Lucian in the living room, veins bulging at his temples. As he brushed past, he grabbed my wrist. Serena, where are you going? I waved him off with disgust. To a place where I can sleep, all right? Happy now? Julian stood in front of me, his tone losing control. You're not allowed to leave. Lucian gave him an elbow. Move aside, don't crowd, sister. You don't care, but I do. Julian grunted and was pushed against the wall. Celeste hurried out to help him but was forcefully brushed aside. Throughout it all, his gaze was fixed firmly on my face, and I could even see a hint of shock and confusion in his eyes. Without looking back, I left with Lucian. I'll come back whenever the house is quiet. Lucian took me to a property registered under my name. He was as comfortable as if he were home, holding me tightly without letting go. Since your husband came home, you hardly look for me anymore. What exactly do I mean to you? I tenderly stroked his hair. You're my lover. He made a pitiful expression with that outrageously handsome face. All right, so can you keep your lover company now? Though his tone was clearly questioning, his hand was already skillfully slipping under the hem. It was hard to connect the man before me now with the cold, harsh one from 2 months ago. My first encounter with Lucian was far from dignified. Julian was caught cheating again, and after my mother put on a show of scolding him in front of me, her true intentions finally surfaced. She blamed me for not capturing his heart, belittled my hairstyle, figure, and personality, making me out to be worthless. In the end, she advised me to dress up nicely to please Julian. I vomited right in front of her. The burn in my throat felt like fire, and my stomach churned with an indescribable nausea. The ridiculous part was, my mom thought I was pregnant. Happily, she took me to the hospital for a checkup, only to find out it was just gastroenteritis. She left, disappointed. I stumbled out of the hospital in a daze, moving my body like a walking corpse. I didn't know how long I had been walking when a business card was handed to me. Interested in fitness? The word fitness stabbed my nerves deeply. I lost my mind and broke down into tears. Do you also think I should please my unfaithful husband by working out? Do you also think his repeated affairs are because I'm not beautiful or my body isn't good enough? Do you also think it's my fault? Many pedestrians on the street stopped to watch my disgraceful scene. In that moment, I felt utterly helpless. I quickly apologized to him, snatched the business card, and hurried away. His clear, crisp voice came from behind me. You're doing well. Your husband's affair isn't your fault. He made a solemn promise at the wedding but failed to keep it, that's his failure. Working out isn't about pleasing anyone else, it's about feeling the power of shaping and controlling yourself. I wiped my tears haphazardly and quickened my pace to leave. That day, I sat by the river for a long time. When I looked back, a tall figure was standing quietly behind me. We were strangers, yet he stayed by my side for a long time, afraid I might lose hope. Later, I signed up for the highest tier membership at that gym. Naturally, he became my personal trainer, and I learned his name, Lucian. Lucian was very handsome, and countless members flirted with him every day. But apart from work, he kept everyone at arm's length. Not to mention someone like me, a married woman. However, I am a very patient person. Back in college, although Julian was dirt poor, he was handsome and ambitious. That aura of self-restraint attracted many wealthy girls to confess their feelings to him. He didn't hesitate for a moment and rejected them all. Even then, I knew that someone like me, from an ordinary family, actually had more in common with him. I kept hanging around him every day, showing my affection without ever confessing, leaving him no chance to refuse. Over the course of 2 years, suitors came and went, one wave after another, yet I remained steadfast. Julian finally softened. The turning point came when his mother fell ill and fainted. I went to the hospital with him and took care of his mother for half a month. Julian took the initiative to kiss me, promising he would never let me down in this lifetime. Although in hindsight, his words now seem empty. But objectively speaking, I do have some insight when it comes to pursuing difficult men. After adding Lucian on WeChat, I scoured through his moments. Though there were only a handful of posts, the information within was more than enough. The songs he shared, the movie stills, the topics he posted about. I spent a few days fully understanding it. Then, when I casually mentioned it in class, didn't that give us something to talk about? It was obvious, he started replying to my messages more and more frequently. During the day in class, there were occasional physical touches. At night, our souls collided in perfect harmony. Maybe it was because I was getting older, but I was becoming more attractive. In less than 2 months, he had opened his heart to me. Lucian is a second-generation rich kid, with his family's business mainly overseas. His parents had a business marriage, divorced after having him, and each had lovers on the side. A child who never felt love chose to run away from home. He returned to the country, preferring to be a fitness coach rather than inherit that cold family fortune. Lucian asked me, "Sister, do you think I'm really stupid?" I smiled, "You are pretty stupid, just like I was before. Did you run out here hoping they would come looking for you? But the truth is, they will quickly forget you, and the inheritance that was originally yours will be taken by the illegitimate child. When people who don't love you see your tears, their first reaction is annoyance, not sympathy. I've been through it." Lucian stared at me blankly, his eyes flickering slightly. "You must have suffered a lot, right?" My hand touched his well-toned chest muscles. "Actually, once you understand it yourself and stop expecting anything from anyone, life becomes much easier. Instead of sinking in pain while watching others have fun, it's better to find some joy yourself and enjoy it. By the way, speaking of enjoyment, you're..." Lucian helplessly grabbed my hand. "Are you really just after my body? But speaking of pleasure, I do have my strengths." He didn't continue, instead replacing his words with a trail of delicate kisses downwards. With his actions, he proved that he could indeed make me feel amazing. We hadn't even enjoyed a few carefree days after moving out when Julian started causing trouble again in the middle of the night. His brothers pulled me into a group chat and sent several videos of him drunk at the club, shouting my name. True to Julian's style, he knew exactly how to disgust me. Sis-in-law, no matter what, you can't just ignore Julian. He's almost drunk himself into the hospital. You're not going to let his mistress pick him up? He only wants you to come. I directly sent the video of Julian swearing he wouldn't regret it to the group chat. No one dared to speak after that. Soon, the group was disbanded by the owner. But my phone rang. Sister-in-law, Julian is drunk, and we can't do anything about him. Why don't you just come over? I'm begging you. I was about to hang up when Julian took the phone. Serena, come pick me up. Double the living expenses. I was silent for 2 seconds. The address. Lucian, still drowsy, wrapped his arms around my waist. You're not going. I kissed him. Be good. I'll have him buy another sports car, and next month we'll go on a road trip. Only then did Lucian relent. When I arrived, it was his brother who came to pick me up. The same person who had once used a condescending tone to make me let things drop. From Julian's visible angle, I patted his face. I see you still have your charm. You know Julian and I are doing our own thing now. Interested in going shopping with me? He looked confused, his Adam's apple bobbing involuntarily. Before he could speak, Julian's fist swung toward his face. What the hell, man? What kind of look were you giving my wife? His friend was stunned from the blow. I didn't do anything. Julian clearly wasn't listening at the moment and was ready to strike again. The guy who got hit was angry too. Are you crazy? The two of them were tangled up together, and it took several people to pull them apart. I crossed my arms and watched the spectacle with delight. When Julian got into the passenger seat, he saw the smile on my face and looked a bit dazed. I was in a good mood and didn't mind him staring at me. Where to? To your love nest with Celeste? He was stunned for a moment, then said with some difficulty, that's our home. I said nothing, feeling a bit uncomfortable at the strong smell of alcohol on him. This car reeks of booze. I'm going to have it cleaned. Buy me a new one, and I'll pick it out and send it to you. Julian closed his eyes. I almost thought he had fallen asleep, but then I heard him laugh bitterly to himself. Is this the only topic left between us? I just felt baffled. Weren't you the one who told me to be a rich wife? So what are you complaining about now? Your only value to me right now is making money for me to spend. Otherwise, why on earth would I be devoted to you like some pathetic rotten cucumber? Sorry, I'm not that low. Julian took a deep breath and slowly opened his eyes. Dark emotions churned in his gaze, impossible to discern what he was feeling. Serena, I hardly recognize you anymore. I smiled. If you can't stand it, then get a divorce. Julian chuckled softly as well. Divorce? Impossible. It seemed he was determined to make things difficult for me. Just as I got the new car and was planning a trip with Lucian, my mom suddenly called me dozens of times, urging me to come home for dinner. I wouldn't believe it if it weren't on Julian's orders. Sure enough, as soon as the door opened, I saw Julian happily mingling with the whole family. My dad was probably drunk, his face flushed, waving happily for me to sit down. Serena, Julian said he's done with the women outside and wants to live a good life with you. I couldn't help but glance at him. What kind of game was this now? Julian met my gaze without flinching, his expression sincere, just like the first time I caught him cheating. Honey, I've already promised my parents. Can you trust me one more time? My mom smiled so broadly her eyes nearly disappeared. Yes, as long as any conflicts are cleared up, harmony in the family brings prosperity. If you ask me, you should hurry up and have a child, that's what truly makes a marriage solid and steady. Julian nodded in agreement, and everyone else chimed in as well, not a single person paying any attention to my opinion. I picked up a piece of fish and put it in my mouth. When they finally finished laughing and turned to me, I smiled faintly. What's the matter? Didn't Julian tell you? I cheated too. The atmosphere suddenly fell silent. Julian's pupils dilated wildly, he couldn't believe I had just ripped off that last shred of cover-up. My brother was the first to react, giving an awkward smile. Sis, you must be joking, right? I tilted my head and looked at him. Your brother-in-law and I have long decided on an open marriage, each doing their own thing. You're young, you should understand that, right? Julian held my hand, trembling slightly. His expression was hard to read. Was he about to cry or laugh? It was ugly. Honey, that was just me venting. Let's never bring this up again, okay? I shook off his hand. I don't understand what you're trying to do. Things are fine as they are. I won't interfere with you, so don't interfere with me. My dad slammed his chopsticks hard on the table. How can a woman cheat? That's just disgraceful. My mom chimed in, a woman should know her place and behave. Seeing that I was still eating, pretending not to hear, she knocked my chopsticks away. Did you hear me? The air was thick with the foul stench of smoke and alcohol, making it hard to breathe. I stood up and slammed the table fiercely. Not letting me eat, huh? Then none of us will eat. The plate shattered into pieces with a clatter. Julian stood there stunned, his eyes filled with utter unfamiliarity as he looked at me. I sneered coldly, when a woman cheats, she's despicable, when a man cheats, it's the woman's fault. When a man wants to return to the family, it's a blessing, when a woman wants a divorce, it's a family disgrace. You treat your son-in-law like your own son, yet you degrade your own daughter to the dirt. You speak so well, don't you? Amid their shocked, speechless stares, I raised my voice. You look down on women, don't you? I turned to my father. When you had surgery, who paid for it? Was it your son? It was me, the woman you looked down on. I looked at my mom again. Every time after dinner, your husband and son just flop down on the sofa. I'm the one who takes the initiative to clean up to make things easier for you, but all I get from you is, girls should be more diligent if they want to marry well. You only ever think about your son when it comes to food and drink. When you were hospitalized with back pain, you suddenly remembered me. I was overwhelmed and had to ask your reluctant son to come see you, and you were so happy you said, a son is better, a son is reliable. Everything I'd done for you was wiped away by that one sentence. Do I owe you something? I looked around. Even this house was bought with money I saved for you all. What has your son done? I pointed at Gavin, whose face was pale and greenish. All you do is beg me not to divorce. Your career depends entirely on your brother-in-law. If that's the case, if I divorce, wouldn't it be better for you to marry him? Serena, are you crazy? My dad was so angry he tried to hit me, but Julian held him back tightly. He looked at me, his face full of disbelief. After all, family was my last soft spot, and now I had just shattered it with my own hands. Crazy? Maybe. I spun around, grabbed the baseball bat, and smashed it hard against the TV. If you all look down on women deep down, then don't spend women's money. Let your good sons and sons-in-law buy it. The TV, I bought it. The fridge, I bought it. The air conditioner, I bought it. I smashed everything I could, destroying it completely. The scene became chaotic. My mother clutched her thigh, crying and cursing the misfortune of raising a daughter like me, saying it would have been better if I were dead. I smiled at her gently. If you want to die, then go ahead. Last time you drank poison and I saved you. Next time, just jump off a building, make sure it's a tall one. This time I definitely won't stop you. Her cries abruptly ceased. After the place was left in complete chaos, I threw down the stick and looked at my terrified family. From now on, I won't care about you anymore. Whether you live or die is up to you. If you push me again, I don't know what kind of madness I might unleash next time. On the way back, Julian still seemed unable to recover from the upheaval. His tone even carried a hint of confusion. Serena, what's been going on with you lately? I closed my eyes to rest and slowly retorted, you're using the same old trick, trying to force me to make up with you through them. Now that things have turned out like this, are you satisfied? Julian drove on, eyes fixed ahead. Hearing my words, he tugged at the corner of his mouth but found no smile. So why won't you forgive me this time? You don't want me, not even your family? Serena, when did you become so cold-hearted? His tone was calm, yet every word was heavy with helplessness. I slowly opened my eyes. Julian, they are your family, not mine. Every time you hurt me, they chose to stand against me. From that moment on, they ceased to be my family. My only regret is not waking up sooner. Look, how much better it would have been if I had. From now on, there's nothing I care about. What do you have left to threaten me with? I gave him a leisurely glance. The car gradually came to a stop, and I got out without a trace of reluctance. From behind me came a voice, so faint it almost dissolved into the wind. Yeah, what do I have left to keep you? I cast those boring people and matters out of my mind and kept my promise to take Lucian on a road trip. For a month, we traveled westward. We ran across vast grasslands and witnessed the magnificent, awe-inspiring golden sunlight on the mountains. The long-dormant vitality seemed to gradually revive with the rush of blood. It was the first time I truly felt freedom. It was addictive. After we returned, Julian asked me to come home. He said he had already fired Celeste, and I would never see her again. I agreed, it didn't matter where I lived, as long as I got paid. But on the very day I moved back, Celeste came crashing in like a madwoman. She seemed drunk, crying and throwing a tantrum in the living room, clinging to Julian and refusing to leave. I don't believe you don't love me at all. Julian was cold now. Yeah, I don't love you at all. Celeste's tone was sharp. If you didn't love me, how could you let me take off your wedding ring? How could you allow me to sit in the passenger seat? How could you miss Serena's birthday and still let me post on social media to provoke her? Can you honestly say you don't have a shred of feeling for me? Was it that bitch who forced you to break up with me? She's the one cheating and won't let you get a divorce. I'm going to find her. Saying that, she angrily tried to storm upstairs to cause trouble for me, but Julian grabbed her and pulled her to the ground. His tone was icy, suppressing his rage. Celeste, if you dare call my wife a bitch, you're asking for death. Who do you think you are, to cause a scene in front of my wife? Celeste stared at him blankly, tears streaming down her face, yet she laughed nervously. Julian, what kind of good husband are you pretending to be now? When you were enjoying yourself with me, did you ever think about your wife? Now that she doesn't love you anymore, you're feeling guilty? You're really pathetic. He said nothing in response, instead calling the maid to drag Celeste away. I came down the stairs, and the moment our eyes met, Julian looked a bit flustered. Honey, I've really cut all ties with her. I interrupted him, you don't need to explain your business to me. Seeing the bag in my hand, Julian quickly asked, where are you going? I pushed the door open without looking back. Lucian is feeling a bit unwell. I'm going to check on him. I won't be back tonight. Julian couldn't utter another word. He stared blankly as the door gently closed, his eyes suddenly welling with tears. Lucian was truly ill. Probably from the exhaustion of the journey, he started running a persistent low fever as soon as he returned. I forced him to go to the hospital for info and medication, and spent the whole day busy with it. Get some good rest. I touched his forehead, then got up to turn off the light. Lucian grabbed my hand, his voice hoarse. Don't go. I'm not going anywhere. You sleep now, I'll stay with you. He looked a bit pale and sickly, and the usually flamboyant face now bore a few more traces of obedience. Sis, no one has ever been this good to me. If you're willing, there will be many people who treat you this well. Lucian looked at me almost stubbornly. That's different. I only want you. I paused, my gaze dropping. You're probably not in great shape right now, are you? He glared at me, his ear tips flushing red. Actually, it's possible. Don't you want to try a man at 38 degrees? I pressed my hand over his mouth expressionlessly. Stop, I haven't reached the point of squeezing patience dry yet. If I don't sleep, will you leave? Lucian reluctantly closed his eyes but held my hand tightly. The next morning, I made him a pot of century egg and lean pork congee. Lucian lazily wrapped his arms around my waist from behind. Are you leaving? Yeah, take good care of yourself. I'll come see you in a couple of days. He frowned, your husband is copying me? I get sick, and he gets sick too. I chuckled, can't help it, after all, he's linked to my account. Lucian bit my collarbone in anger. I skillfully slipped my hand under his shirt, feeling the valleys beneath his delicate skin. So energetic? Can you hold a deep conversation for half an hour? He took a gentle breath. His eyes darkened as he lifted me onto the island counter and knelt on one knee. Half an hour is not enough. By the time I got home, it was nearly evening. The nanny had called me early to say Julian had a high fever. I was too lazy to respond. Before long, Julian called me himself. He threatened me to come home using Lucian's work as leverage. The moment I walked in, I mercilessly threw my bag right at his face. Julian, do you find this entertaining every day? He didn't move a muscle, his tall frame standing silently in place. Looking up, his gaze fell on the bite mark on my collarbone, his pupils flickering slightly. I curled my lips in mockery. Speak. What do you want this time? My stomach hurts. I said impatiently, if your stomach hurts, go see a doctor. I'm not a doctor. Julian's dry lips twitched. I want to eat the lean pork porridge you make. Not in the mood. So you're in the mood when it's for Lucian? I paused on the stairs, frowning as I looked back. You're still spying on their social media? Julian, you were the one who suggested an open relationship in the first place. What nonsense are you making now? Are you a CEO of a public company with nothing better to do, obsessing over someone every day? Does that give you a sense of accomplishment? You think targeting Lucian will get to me? Once he's gone, there will be another man. I spend your money to support other men without any psychological burden at all. When will you finally understand that no one cares whether you're sick or not? Suddenly, Julian bent over, clutching his stomach, cold sweat pouring from his temples as if in excruciating pain. He wanted to say something to me, but the pain left him unable to utter a single word. His eyes held a clear, desperate plea. I looked coldly at his disheveled, ugly state. I made a call to the nanny, then turned and went upstairs. In the middle of the night, half awake, I felt someone kissing me. I instinctively pushed him away. Lucian, stop it. He froze, then became even more intense, and I was almost gasping for air. In a moment of clarity, I suddenly slapped him. Julian, are you crazy? He didn't pull away either, pressing his face into my palm, and I felt a trace of dampness. Wife, I was wrong, I really was. Let's make up and never fight again, okay? Julian's voice choked with emotion, desperately trying to close the distance between us. His kiss landed on my neck. What he can do, I can do too. I'll make you feel good, alright? I was so angry I grabbed his hair hard, forcing him to look up. You think you can compare to Lucian? He's young and clean, you're so filthy that just touching you makes me feel like I'm catching an STD. How do you have the nerve to say that? Julian broke down. He covered his eyes with one hand, sobbing. So what am I supposed to do, Serena? Tell me, what am I supposed to do? I broke down even more. Go find another woman, no one's stopping you. Julian held me tightly. I won't look anymore, I won't ever look again. Honey, I'm sorry, I really regret it. Please forgive me one more time, I beg you. I had reached my limit. I grabbed his hair and dragged him to the sink. Do you remember what you said back then? You said if you ever regretted it, you were a dog. Look at you now, do you look like a dog or not? The reflection in the mirror showed a gaunt, pale figure, his lifeless eyes bloodshot, as if all vitality had been drained from him, completely different from the man he was just a few months ago. Holding Julian's arm, I realized how ridiculously thin he had become. I wanted to snap him out of it, but he tugged at the corner of his mouth and let out a pitiful little bark. Serena, I am a dog, I'm a lowlife, I'm an idiot. You can hit me, scold me, I don't care, do whatever makes you happy. I just want to beg you to change your mind. We will go back to how things were, we will. He muttered, as if trying to comfort himself. I released my grip with disgust. Unexpectedly, with just a gentle push, he collapsed to the ground as if all his strength had drained away. I frowned as I studied him for a long time. Julian, since when did you become so weak? You haven't really caught some nasty disease, have you? If you're sick, go get treated. My quality of life cannot drop one bit, that's my only demand of you. After all, besides making money, you have no other value. Since that fallout, I never went back to that home again. Julian, unusually, didn't bother me anymore. But my mom started calling again, playing the victim, her tone always a bit cautious. My dad and brother also took turns reaching out to me, their tone much softer. Between the lines, they hoped I would come home more often. They have always been like this. Favoring boys over girls, treating Gavin and me differently. When his clothes wore out, they could be replaced, when mine wore out, they were patched over and over. His bowl was always filled with chicken legs, while I, as a girl with a smaller appetite, was given just chicken wings. His allowance could be topped up, but mine was never enough. So many disappointments beyond words. But whenever I resolved to hate them, I would recall a sick night, the tightly tucked-in quilt corners, and the worried sighs. What hurt me most wasn't their constant belittling and suppression, but the way they made me sad while also making me mistakenly believe they might love me. And the first half of my life was spent chasing that faint, elusive warmth. Because it was enough to numb all the suffering and pain I had endured. Someone once said that a parent's love is like a damp cotton-padded jacket, cold when you put it on, and cold when you take it off. The bravest thing I ever did was to firmly choose to be with Julian despite my parents' scolding. It was the only major escape of my soul in the 20 years I had lived. Everything that followed proved I had made the right decision. Gradually, the biased image of my parents faded from my memory, replaced by loving family members. I despised my own cheapness while greedily craving the love from my family. Until Julian cheated, the beautiful illusion shattered in an instant. It turned out that all of this was just a dream before the soul's death. At 29, I finally took off that damp cotton-padded jacket. I would no longer let it torment me. After blocking everyone, I slowly exhaled. See, it's no big deal. The next time I saw Julian was 2 months later. That day was the anniversary of his mother's death. I bought a bouquet of white chrysanthemums to visit her. He wore a black cashmere coat, standing silently before the tombstone. We stood side by side for a long time, neither of us speaking. In such a scene, it's hard not to recall the past. When we first got married, Julian was busy starting his business, busy raising investments, busy accompanying clients. He worked himself to exhaustion to earn money for his mother's treatment, suffering several bouts of stomach bleeding that landed him in the hospital. I felt so heartbroken. While learning to prepare stomach-friendly meals for him, I was running back and forth between the hospital and the company. I made the best lean pork congee because it was his favorite. Julian's mother had pancreatic cancer and underwent surgery, but unfortunately, it recurred. I was by her side during the final moments of her life. She kept tossing and turning, telling me stories about Julian's childhood. Julian's father had an affair and abandoned his wife and child when Julian was still very young. He grew up early, mature beyond his years, never even going through a rebellious phase. Julian's mother said meeting me was a blessing for the two of them. Before she left, she made Julian swear to take care of me for life. He wept uncontrollably, nodding desperately. So even if Julian were unfaithful, he would never shortchange me financially. I was too lazy to argue whether this counted as breaking a promise or not. Let it be. As I turned around, I heard his calm voice. Serena, let's get a divorce. My steps halted, and after a long moment, I lowered my eyes. All right. When signing the divorce agreement, I glanced at the division of assets. To my surprise, he was unexpectedly generous. Except for the company shares, he gave me almost all of his wealth. The amount was so large it exceeded my expectations. I wasn't foolish enough to refuse. I even teasingly said with a cheerful mood, I always knew my taste in men wouldn't be that bad, at least you're generous. His cheeks were so sunken they looked like a skeleton wrapped in clothes. Hearing this, he looked up at me, a trace of self-mockery curling the corner of his lips. But you stopped trusting me long ago, otherwise you wouldn't have secretly been transferring assets. I smiled faintly, saying nothing. From beginning to end, I never intended to be entangled with a scoundrel for life. So I kept asking him for money, transferring the assets in my hands to overseas accounts by various means. Even if I ended up with not a single penny, I would still have enough capital to live freely for the rest of my life. I had long paved the way for myself. No one could shake me even an inch anymore. The day we got the divorce certificate was a rare day of good weather. Lucian stood beside me, smiling brighter than the sunshine. Julian, thank you for being sensible. I will take good care of my sister. Julian ignored his provocation. His lingering gaze traced every inch of my face, as if trying to carve it into his memory. I curled my lips and nodded at him. Take care. He gave a soft hum, but still couldn't hold back the redness in his eyes. Serena, I'm sorry. After saying that, he turned and walked away. In the end, we reached this point. Lucian asked me what my plans were next. I answered him without hesitation. I'm going to travel around the world. During that month of road tripping, the wild winds of nature pierced through my skin, stirring my stagnant blood to flow and surge once again. At that moment, I realized it was not the soul that was broken, but the shackles. I can go anywhere, I am free. What about you? What will you do next? Lucian looked down at me, his expression relaxed. I've decided to go back and take over the family business. You're right, running away is pointless. I have no reason to hand over everything that belongs to me. I smiled and nodded. Good, I support you. From the very beginning, we reached a mutual understanding. Either of us had the right to call it off at any time. Now, it's time to part ways. Just as I was pondering how to say goodbye to him, Lucian's clear and melodious voice rang in my ear. Sister, just keep walking ahead, I'll catch up with you. I was slightly taken aback, then heard him say, if I catch up to you, I hope you'll give me a chance. Serena, I really like you. It seemed there was no need to think it over. A faint smile curved my lips as I reached out and embraced him. All right. I won't stay for anyone, but I don't mind walking a part of the journey with someone who truly resonates with me. As for how long that journey lasts, it depends on fate. Another 6 months passed, and when I arrived at the Abu Simbel temples in Egypt, I received a call from home. The caller was Julian's attorney. He told me that Julian had passed away from stomach cancer just minutes ago. Before he died, he sold the company and left all his assets to me. Hearing this news, I was only momentarily dazed. Although it was sudden, everything made sense in hindsight. The lawyer's voice was somewhat heavy. Mr. Julian also left you a message. He said he respects your opinion. Do you want to hear it? I was silent for a moment. No need. After hanging up, the tour guide Lucian found for me asked with concern if something urgent had come up and if we needed to pause the itinerary. I shook my head. It's nothing important. Let's continue. He nodded with a smile and went on explaining the local history to me. The scenery before me quickly consumed all my attention. It was as if the previous news was insignificant. Indeed, it was unimportant. Just in a fleeting moment, a line of poetry suddenly popped into my mind. If life were only as it was at first sight, why would the autumn wind mourn the painted fan? My college roommate once joked that combining Julian's name with mine might bring bad luck. I angrily spat 3 times and said it absolutely wouldn't. Now, that prophecy has come true. All I can do is sigh at the unpredictability of life. But the harshest rain will eventually pass. Keep moving forward, never look back. The story ends.